to run the mothership. We're now joined by Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, on Sic'Em 365 Radio. I have couldn't wait to ask you this question. And I wish Craig was here. He's off for a second, but I need to share this with Paul, with Mack on the show, and our audience. I almost died at the men's tennis tournament last Friday. I was standing there talking to Mack's wife and also with, a member of the athletic staff. And I started coughing. It kind of drank water a little bit too fast. And Kenny Boyd, Mrs. Rhoades, both wanted to help me. Mack just stood there and stared at me and said, "I don't know what I can do for you."
Well, Mack,
is there a question in here somewhere?
Yeah. Mack, sorry, I didn't know we were connected to you yet.
Mack, I would just say that, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to, if he all of a sudden needed a tracheotomy, he doesn't want me to do it.
No.
Same with you.
Yeah. So I think that maybe that got the team back into a roll because they had lost all the. Let's discuss that. The atmosphere, with all due respect, the atmosphere was incredible. How proud were you of what you saw, and also the comeback and what they did?
Well, let's go back a step or two, because we're not going to leave what you opened with on. I just for the record, I do care about you, but I just knew that the other two people had it covered. So I don't complicate things.
All right,
so
that's good.
All right, the tennis match, Sweet 16, Stanford. You mentioned it. What a great atmosphere, man, and a little bit too much drama. No, there was that was just an intense match, and as you mentioned, Stanford came out and won the doubles point, and meaning we had to win 4 of the 6 single matches, and there were a couple we won in dominant fashion, and then there were the others that it could have gone either way, and so just a great comeback by our men's tennis program, and obviously now on their way to the Elite Eight versus number 6 Tennessee this Thursday in Champaign, Illinois. But that match was a lot of fun, and again, great crowd, great atmosphere.
Mack, off of tennis and what's going on with kind of what are called non-revenue sports now, but there is talk of fully funding those sports scholarship-wise. What does that look like, and when do you think that would happen, if it does happen, where tennis and baseball and softball and all these sports that could get fully funded scholarship-wise?
Yeah, that's it's an insightful question, Paul, and I don't think it's been, the priority, the main topic of conversation with the transformation committee, but I could see, that being a byproduct of some of the things that they've talked about. And, there's 5 buckets that the transformation committee is focused on, and one of them is kind of membership requirements, different levels of membership, and that's where I think you'll have some conversation about this possibility, contemplating whether or not equivalency sports, you can now offer full scholarships. Obviously, there's a maximum roster limit to that. So, I think we're a year away, being really specific. But no, I think we're probably a year out before any of that conversation becomes really just reality. Now, obviously, what that means is a lot more money, and it's going to be, I'm going to just say it out loud here. It's going to be really, really hard on private institutions just because of, what the amount of or the value of a full scholarship. So, and how does it, if it, and again, I want to make you really clear. There's no certainty that this will happen. And if it does happen, is it tied to a certain membership level? Is it more, hey, it's permissive? So if you can afford it, you do it. And if you can't, you don't do it, so a lot of different things to think about, but again, a really insightful question, because again, that there's conversation about that very fact.
Mack, the other week you mentioned A&T. You wanted to give them congratulations on their national title, and it got me digging into A&T. It's got 40-plus members now signed up. I know now some programs aren't going to begin for another couple of years, but am I right in saying that they are now on the path even more so to becoming an NCAA sport? Is that correct?
Yes. There's currently at 41, I think with a 42nd on their way, and now we just need the newly added teams to have 13 on the roster and compete in 6 meets for the sport to meet NCAA championship status. So it's happening, and I think you all know that, but Felicia, Coach Mulkey has she has been a significant force behind the growth of the sport. Not only is she obviously a unbelievable coach, 11 straight national championships, but 7 of those at Baylor. But she has been such a force, such an advocate for the sport, and she'll get on the phone and talk to athletic directors if she needs to. She'll get on the phone and talk to senior women administrators, and so her work, and she would tell you it's not just been her by herself, and that is certainly the truth. But she's been a big part of it in terms of just getting more institutions to sponsor acrobatics and tumbling. So great future for that sport.
Mack, do you have to hire somebody now that might be the director of NIL on campus?
Oh, that's man, I was hoping we would go a second. I was hoping that I would at least go an hour in my day without talking about name, image, and likeness. But that's not the case. It's as you know, the collectives and things of that nature out there, right? There can be no connection with the athletic department, but you do have to have a person that has got a pulse on it, and what's happening out in the marketplace, and just making sure from a compliance standpoint, and just making sure we've got the processes in place, the mechanisms in place, that we're doing it the right way, that we're educating our student athletes, that we're able to show and provide opportunities, so to speak, or provide a mechanism for them to see and also seek opportunity. So, we have a person that we've got a working group, number one, a name, image, and likeness, working group 2.0. And then we've got a person that leads that. Kevin Gall is doing a great job in leading that, and just making sure that we remain on the forefront, and that we stay true to our Christian values and the way we just manage all of that. And it's a lot to manage, and I think you all know and understand that.
Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, on Sic'Em 365 Radio and 365 Sports. So, Cal's, a one-day event at McLean Stadium at the Baylor Club where you're going to have 20 to 30 different programs from around the state of Texas and elsewhere who are going to converge? Is it kind of like a just picking everybody's brain, an opportunity to share information? What is Cal's coming up on June the 9th?
So, again, CALS is an acronym that stands for Collegiate Athletic Leadership Symposium. It's been an industry professional development conference, held once a year, and it's been around for about a decade, and usually it's held, in the fall, early fall each year, and a gentleman by the name of Will Reese began this program, and Will, first and foremost, is just an unbelievable person. He's been a friend, is a friend. He's also, interestingly enough, is an agent and serves as an agent for primarily in the world of college basketball, and represents head coaches and assistant coaches. But he has a love for our industry, and he created this idea of how do we grow people, help them to grow professionally, and so hence CALS, and it's programmed. There's different sessions and panels and different topics that will be discussed. I've been fortunate, blessed to been asked to be on a couple of panels in the past. I think I've been probably to 5 or 6 of them. So again, this one day, here at Baylor McLean Stadium, it's a great opportunity for Baylor and for maybe some people to see our campus and be in Waco for maybe the first time. So again, going back to just the discussions, so much of it obviously are leadership topics, and then you do get into some industry specific topics. So we're just glad to be a part of it, and should be a great event.
432, Mack Rhoades with us on Sic'Em 365 Radio, 365 Sports. When you look at a program when the year ends, what goes into deciding the future of the program? Does where the facilities stand compared to everybody else come into consideration? The number of scholarships, what is available? Obviously, you have 2 programs that have been successful in the past that are both going to miss the NCAA tournament in baseball and softball. 2 great people who run those programs, but it's been a tough stretch.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I don't know how much we've gotten into this in the past, but we're pretty diligent on sport program reviews, and so we take the time at the end of the year, and sometimes it gets delayed a little bit longer than what we would like, but nonetheless we'll sit down with the head coach and the sport program administrator and myself, and we'll talk about the 4 pillars, and we'll review how the sport program is doing within each of those pillars, and for instance, academic achievement, we look at GPAs and GCRs and APRs and progress toward degree and all of those things. Obviously, athletic success is pretty cut and dry, and we really look at 5-year window snapshot of all of this, character formation stuff, the spiritual growth stuff. We decided to look at roster. What's the roster look like over the last 5 years, and how many student athletes are with us that we signed in each class, and how are they contributing to the 4 pillars? And so it's pretty comprehensive. And then we talk about, things that we're doing well. We then challenge, not just the coach, but we challenge ourselves, the athletics department, in terms of, what are opportunities and ways that we can grow and get better, whether that's individually or that's, units or areas that support the program. So again, really, really comprehensive. We'll do that with baseball and softball. And, again, I would say that, baseball still has a chance. Obviously they got to win the tournament. And, I think it's a very good chance that they make it to the tournament. So they still have that chance, that opportunity to potentially go. But, I would, if you talk to both of those head coaches, I would say that, they're fighting and scratching and clawing and disappointed that more than likely won't, softball isn't, but baseball more than likely is not going postseason. And we need to have a conversation about that and why, and what does it look like in the future? And, how do we improve upon this year? And we will have, we'll have that conversation with each of those programs, just like we do with all of them. So, that's how we'll handle it. And that's how we have handled it.
How much does, and Mack, thank you for the answer, how much does attendance and or donor energy, I know you don't want them making decisions, that's dangerous, but how much does attendance and or those interested in giving to the program come into play?
Oh man, it's a really good question. Absolutely, it's a factor. Is it the primary factor? And again, just being really candid and transparent, is that the number one thing that drives it? No, because you can have a year, and I don't know if this is a great example, but the donor and fan base wasn't all that thrilled when football went 1-11.
No, yeah.
Right. And, so, we heard that and knew that and understood that, but we also internally felt really great about the culture, the process, all of those things. And so that far outweighed, right? It wasn't even a conversation, that we knew it was in the right direction. So again, there's a balance and there's a sliding scale in terms of where you are in the program and all of that. But we maybe the best way for me to answer it is we don't ignore it. It is a factor, and depending upon the program and things internally, how much weight do we give it? Depends.
Mack, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. We are going to be broadcasting, by the way, from the Baylor Club on that day, June 9th, when they host Cows, and look forward to that, meeting a lot of different people from different schools and universities around the state of Texas. Mack, thank you.
Thank you all.
Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, Sic'Em 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Baylor Baseball right now is just ahead of Kansas. And Kansas is playing Texas this weekend. Baylor, their season basically, they have Oklahoma State at home this weekend. They play Stephen F. Austin, in fact, tonight.
They just have to win a game.
Yep.
But you know what? It's not a guarantee that they will against Oklahoma State. So, yeah, they have to hope that Texas sweeps Kansas if they can't get a win against Oklahoma State, or they just win a game. It's that simple, and they are in the tournament. But they could have done it last weekend and blew a game there at the end. The Oklahoma series, another series that they blew. There's been 3 or 4 of those series that they should have won, and had they not had bullpen meltdowns or whatever, they'd be squarely in and wouldn't even be a conversation right now. But they basically put themselves in this position where they're heading into the final weekend and they have to get a win, or they have to hope, that Kansas doesn't pick up a couple of games against Texas.
They seem to have, to me, an "oh crap, not again" kind of
that can be contagious
season where you have a big inning. Okay, it's 5-1 all of a sudden, and you're going well, and then you commit an error with 2 outs, and then all of a sudden it's 5-4, and then all of a sudden it's 8-5, and your attitude is, "oh crap, not again." How does this keep happening?
Football, everyone does it.
Man, I like Steve Rodriguez, but I just hate that there's just not a lot of. I keep saying this phrase, but there's just not a lot of juice with the program right now. And you look around at the Big 12, and you got Oklahoma State fired up, and Texas Tech's obviously way into it. And Texas isn't as good as they were predicted to be, but they still draw big crowds, and there's an excitement around it. And I just don't get that sense of excitement right now. And it's hard to when you're losing games because your bullpen blows it, or you make an error and then that leads to a multi-run inning that costs you. So it's frustrating, and I know he's very well liked. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here this weekend against Oklahoma State, and then subsequently whatever results are there, their season's over, or they're I don't know. I mean, basically, the season's not going to last much longer. I think we all know that. So, what happens after that, I don't know. I'm certainly not going to wish for anybody's job or anything along those lines, but you do have to be realistic. And it is going to be a topic of conversation when the season ends.
24-24 as they head to SF. They play home against SFA tonight, and then 3 against Oklahoma State. So getting above 500 before the end of the year. And then, of course, the Big 12 tournament, if they get there, is also on their plate. So we'll see. I have no idea. Somebody asked in the chat about I think both Steve Rodriguez and Glenn Moore are great people. Glenn Moore's had a great run. Steve Rodriguez has had some nice years. I just think when you look around at all the other programs and what they're doing, there's momentum. There's something happening. There's excitement. There's energy. There's trust. There's a belief that it's in a good place. And I don't pretend to be a softball fanatic or a baseball fanatic for that matter, in particular, in regards to those programs, but just kind of being that outside observer and reading the tea leaves. There's not any of that with either one of them right now. It's just kind of there. And I think baseball, had they won a couple of those series that they should have won, we wouldn't even probably be having this conversation maybe. Like, maybe we still would, but they wouldn't be 500. They wouldn't be needing to win a game in the final weekend to get into the Big 12 tournament. I mean, we got to be the best of 9 teams. You have to be one of the 8 best to get in. And they're in the final weekend, and they have to win a game to get in to be the 8th team. And I just don't think they should ever be in that position where they're skating by like that. And then with softball, they're just kind of there, and it's not anything personal or anything along those lines. I'm not rooting for anybody to be fired or anything like that. It's just my totally neutral perspective on it is that there's just not a lot of juice there right now. And you look around at other programs and in the conference, just alone in the conference, and there is that excitement level, and that's all you want. You just want people to be excited about the product, and I don't get the sense that outside of your hardcores that are going to be there regardless, that there's a lot of excitement for either one right now. Here's one thing we know. For the last 20 years, we do know that women's basketball has been like at an elite level. Football has had their ups and downs, but for the last 10 years, they have been last 12 years, they've been an absolute player with 1-11 and 2-7 in the mix. Men's basketball has been really, really good, and now they're in the elite level. But you could always depend on baseball and softball. They were the ones that always, kind of carried the weight. Mm-hmm. And right now, you're right. There's not something there, and that doesn't mean that they're not the answer. Steve Rodriguez and also Glenn Moore. But at the same time, you're talking about a standard that's been set, and you hope that those two find a way to find it if they're given a chance to come back.
It is interesting, the history of baseball at Baylor and how it went from being really, really, like you said, and I think it started off the field. I think it started with people not kind of understanding Steve Smith and his personality, and it started at a luncheon. They had a first pitch luncheon, and Steve Smith got up, and his speech wasn't really a rah-rah speech. He had a really good team coming back. He had a really good team the year before, and his speech was basically to the city of Waco, how dare you not come and watch us? Yeah. And
it's kind of like that
I don't put butts in seats.
And from that point on, whether it was meant the way it sounded or not, it just started to tick down. And
but you know who that sounds like? It sounds like the WNBA players complaining at fans. Like, it's your fault you don't come. It's like, no, the product's not that great. Sorry.
The Reds owner who said kind of snapped at the fan base.
They have 3 wins.
They have 3 wins. They just lost the game with a no-hitter. All right. Thanks to Mack Rhoades and the All.